cloud. Alrighty. So Wrinkles, how's he doing?
He's good.
He's doing good, yeah. You know, much better on potty training, you know, letting us know when he needs to go out.
Okay.
Still good with going in the crate. I mean, as good as to be expected. You know, he settles down after a couple minutes and stays in there, and he's a lot better on walks and stuff like that.
Okay. With the potty training, what are you doing?
So with the potty training, I take him out normally, like maybe an hour after he eats, and
Okay.
then reward him when he does potty outside.
Okay.
You know, with praise and, you know, great job, Wrinkles, et cetera, et cetera. We have a balcony or a pee pad on the balcony that he typically uses.
Mm-hmm.
And he will also, when he poops, he goes out on the balcony as well.
Gotcha. Is there any kind of schedule?
Not really, to be honest.
Okay. I have a backup recorder here just in case this one taps out. I forgot to put it on. So what we want to do is a schedule, because you said one thing that a lot of people say, and it's a really big mistake. Okay. And it's he's getting good about letting us know when he's got to go potty.
Yeah.
Okay. Because everybody at some point won't catch the cue. And then he's like, okay, well, I told you, you didn't see me. I'm going to go over here because I got to go.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is you want to teach him to actually hold it and put him on a schedule. Okay. And I'm gonna go over all that with you right now. And this is not going to eliminate Wrinkles telling you that he's got to go. Okay. Because that's like the primary concern that people have. So the way I teach you guys to train your puppy is the same way I train my puppies. And if for the off chance maybe one of them has a stomach bug and they get diarrhea, they're on a schedule. And obviously if the dog's got diarrhea, I'm not expecting them to adhere to that schedule.
Right.
They'll come and they'll whine, they'll cry, they'll jump on me, they'll act out of the ordinary. And I'll look at them and I go, okay, something's wrong. It's probably diarrhea or you got to pee or something, right?
Uh-huh.
So even though I never taught them, so to say, to let me know to go potty, it's still there. Okay. So how old is Wrinkles now? 4 months?
4 months.
Yeah, a little over 4 months.
Okay. So the general rule of thumb is a puppy can hold it an hour per month. So at this rate, at this age, he should technically be able to hold it for 4 hours. Okay. But he has to be taught to hold it for 4 hours. The exception being is overnight. Okay. Puppies, even at 2 months, when people bring them home, can hold it overnight most of the time. And I can start getting the puppy at that point sleeping through the night, where a lot of people wake up 2 to 3 times during the night to let them go potty. And then I'll tell them, skip all that. You don't need to do that. It'll take maybe a week or two, a couple of messes, but your dog or puppy can learn to sleep through the night. And this way you don't have to worry about, especially if things were normal, you got work in the morning and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So is he good through the night?
No.
Yes and no. We're guilty of.
I'd say like 70.
Yeah.
70. He's better now. Like,
We're guilty of definitely taking him out. Like, we don't let him sleep through the night.
Okay. And this is fine, right? And I tell everybody at the end of the day, your dog, your rules. Okay. And it's not that what you're doing is wrong, but dogs are creatures of habit. And if he's used to waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and giving a little whimper and you run him out, you're conditioning him to pee at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So that's the thing. And some of my clients, will say like, I'd rather, take the dog out because I live in a condo and they'll bark if I don't. And I go, I understand. So then what we would do is just slowly start to push that hour later and later until finally the puppy will sleep through the night. Okay. So I'll give you like all those answers. So he could be expected to hold it for up to 4 hours while he's active and loose. Okay. Mm-hmm. Chances are he's not. Okay. So what we want to do is reset, and we want to pretend like he's a 2-month-old puppy, and we're going to put him on a 2-hour schedule.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to give a general kind of layout, and then we just adapt it to however your structure is. And then we also got to tie in the crating stuff. Okay.
Okay.
So let's say your day starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay. You wake up, you run Wrinkles out, he potties, you're back by 7:30. Maybe you feed him and water him, right? Like a plant, feed him and water him. You give him food and water.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like at 8 o'clock or 8:15, maybe you run them out one more time, because puppies typically have to go within 15 to 30 minutes after eating and drinking. Okay. And then I take them out again. Okay. Let's pretend that this day is a day that you're home all day with no work. Okay. A Saturday. So let's say it's 8 o'clock. You do all that. He's done. His next outing would be at 10 o'clock. Okay. So then 10, 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 is what you're looking at, because you're home all day. Let's say he pees and poops. You know he's good at 8 o'clock. And his next outing is at 10 o'clock. But at 9:30, you see Wrinkles look a little suspicious. Like he's going to pee. He goes to wander off in the hallway when typically he's staying next
I know that look. Yeah, I know that one
The
well.
wander into certain
Okay.
areas.
So instead of, most people run their puppy out, right? Because they got to go, and they bring them back inside again. It works against you in the sense that your puppy is going when he has to go, and you want to teach him to hold it.
Okay.
So what I do is, for that last half hour, because his outing's at 10 o'clock, is I kennel him. Okay. So, and even if you're not 100% sure, even if you just like maybe think, I think he's got to go, just pop him in the kennel. Okay. So from 9:30 to 10, he's in the kennel. He most likely won't soil it, because puppies don't want to pee and poop where they eat and sleep, right? So we use that to our advantage. Come 10 o'clock, I go grab Wrinkles, leash him up, run him outside. He pees. If I know his schedule and he doesn't have to poop, I bring him back inside, and he's free again. Okay, and repeat that process, same thing. So then at 12 o'clock, he would go. But if at 11, he looks suspicious, well, from 11 to 12, he's going to be in the kennel. Okay, and we keep doing that. So now you're conditioning Wrinkles to hold it for a specific period of time. And we're going to gradually just extend that time each week until he's able to hold it. You know, the typical outing for a dog is 3 times a day: morning, after work, and before bed. Right? So that's what we're trying to condition him to work towards. But we understand he's a puppy, and if he's going to be free, we want to make it a very short time frame. Okay? Questions so far?
No, very
That makes
straightforward.
sense. Yeah.
So then the next thing is, let's say he pees or poops in the kennel. Okay? Let's say his outing was at 12, but at 11, when you kennel him, at 11:30, he does something, right? He's probably going to yip and bark and say, "Let me out of here, it's gross."
Mm-hmm.
Most people's inclination is to wash the puppy, wash the kennel. I don't do this, or I suggest you don't do this, okay? When we do training, you want to have a balance of positive and negative, okay? What you're doing with the giving him treats when he potties outside is the positive, okay? The negative is, maybe he didn't completely empty himself. He's in the kennel, he poops, and he goes, "Crap, that sucks." He's going to throw a fit, right? If you clean him up, you don't leave that aversive to teach him, like, "Hey, don't poop in your kennel," because then you're going to have to sit with it for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever that time frame is, right? So then the next time when you have to kennel him, less inclined to potty in the kennel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you want to do this now while he's still fairly small. Hopefully his poops are small too, so it's not a big mess. And I've trained a lot of puppies, and I've had a lot of really difficult cases. And this is the kind of, how would you say, it's a very black and white approach that it's like super surefire that it'll get it done. I've only ever had one dog or one puppy not get potty trained, and I think it was because it was a puppy mill dog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's gross. I suggest if you ever have any issues with this, you place the kennel in a room where he's going to be the least audible, and then if obviously it may smell, that it's not gross for you as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And this way he can bark and throw a fit, and then he learns like, okay, well, next time I'm in this kennel, I better not use the bathroom, otherwise I'm stuck.
Got it.
Okay.
Mhm.
So then this is only, of course, when you're home and when he is loose and being active. The exception to the time frame rule is if you leave. Okay. So like, let's say you take Wrinkles out at 10 o'clock, but you have to leave at 11 to go to the grocery store and run some errands. You're going to be gone maybe 3 hours, right? 3-4 hours.
Mhm.
Is before you leave at 11, I would run Wrinkles out to go potty again. Okay, so we're breaking from the 2-hour time frame because we know we're going to be gone for a while. I kennel him up. I leave at 11. I don't come back till, let's say, 3 o'clock. So he's in it for 4 hours, right? That's what's teaching him to hold it beyond the 2-hour spectrum, is the fact that he's being kept in the kennel for a longer period of time. You may come home to a mistake. When it happens doesn't matter, because the learning point is maybe he pooped in there 2 hours ago and he had to sit next to it for 2 hours, right? And if he's got a good denning instinct, you'll see Wrinkles like just kind of tucked in the corner. That's good because he's avoiding the mess. Okay? And then I clean it up. I don't get angry. I clean it up, clean him up if I need to, run him out to go potty, and then start my 2-hour clock at that point.
Okay.
The returned. Okay, because people, they take the 2-hour schedule to heart and they think, well, do I have to leave work every 2 hours? I'm like, no.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, I know with the quarantine thing, you're probably not getting out as much as you were if you were to go to work and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah.
But you've been kenneling him like 3 to 4 hours, I think. Is that what you had said, Bryce?
Maybe a little less. Yeah.
Maybe 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah. And
Okay.
like 1.5 in increments.
So have you ever left Wrinkles alone at all?
Yeah.
How is he?
I mean, when we leave, you can hear him pitching a fit, but when we get back, he's just sitting in
fine.
his crate chilling.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know like how long he may bark for?
So when we crate him when we're here, like we're in the living room, his crate's in our bedroom, anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
It's less and less, like as we've done it more.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you ever, when he's barked, gone in to like calm him down, give him something, or even reprimand him?
Me, no.
Well, I don't go in there and I feel I like I go and
Yeah.
like
So
leave.
we've gotten better at it as a team,
Oh,
but
yeah, I know I'm not supposed to do that. It's just so
Okay. So one of the things about this quarantine, the positive is a lot of people have taken in shelter dogs and foster dogs and stuff. The con is, I don't think that they're aware, is one of the common mistakes that people do when they get a puppy is typically they'll take 2 to 3 weeks off to spend with the puppy to acclimate. Right. And I tell them it's the worst thing to do, because then the puppy thinks life is with you 24/7.
Yeah.
And then you go back to your 9 to 5, and now the dog has really bad separation anxiety.
Okay.
Yeah. So obviously, I don't expect you guys to leave the house for 8 hours, because what are you going to do in that time right now? But what I would suggest is that you replicate as best you can what your life would look like. Okay. So I like that you've been kenneling Wrinkles, because that's better than what I've been getting in most of my puppy calls. And it showed, because when you brought him in for daycare, I remember the very first time when he was a little tiny chunker, he was super whiny and because he was so used to being with his litter mates, and it's a big shift. And then when you brought him back this last time, he was quiet. He went in his kennel, he laid down, he chilled, didn't fuss. So that was good. Most of the puppies we get are barking and all that stuff. Okay. So that's good to note, but I don't want you to think that the 2 to 3 hours is enough. You actually need to do more.
Okay.
So if if you work the standard 9 to 5, what I've been doing with another couple that I'm working with is I told them, you take your puppy out, do everything like you would, and then the moment you would kennel them, as if you were to leave the work, you do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And like you've been doing in a separate room. And then in the afternoon, the husband goes on a lunch and he'll take the puppy out for a walk and stuff, and then brings her back in and then kennels them until his wife comes home from work. Okay. So they're replicating it that way. So the dog's being kenneled 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours a day, even though the dad is home. Okay? Because that's what life would look like. Because what happens is, let's say he's fine with 2 to 3 hours. We go back to normalcy at some point, and he's been trained on 2 to 3 hours for the past 3 or 4 months or something. Fast forward, is once he hits that 2 to 3 hour mark, he might be like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? This is longer than I'm used to. Okay, so we do all that conditioning now. Because the last thing you want is separation anxiety. It's a pain in the butt to fix. It's very easy to prevent, and it's essentially put the puppy in the room, isolate them. We don't want to go in and quiet him down, even with the hush or giving him a bone, because then he thinks if he barks, you will at some point acknowledge him. And then you just, again, create that habit. Okay. So if we don't acknowledge him, maybe the barking goes longer. Okay. This is where we want to start keeping track of things. Is I take the kennel, and I face the opening of the kennel where he would walk in. So you may have to turn it so that it's facing towards the wall. Okay. Or at least, is it a wire kennel?
Yeah.
It is? Okay. So that there's an opening so that there is some airflow. And I give about maybe 6 inches of space between the kennel opening to the wall. And then I drape a blanket or a heavy towel over the rest of the kennel. Okay. So the two sides, the top and the back, would be covered with the opening towards the wall. This helps muffle the barking. And then this way, the reason for facing the wall is so that when he barks, it hits the wall and it doesn't resonate. Okay. And then are you guys like in a condo apartment?
Yeah, apartment. Yep.
Yeah. So, just fix it as best you can. And I always tell people, tell your neighbors, give them a heads up, like, hey, we're crate training. Right now, we apologize. Please let us know if this is a problem for you. So at least they got a heads up, less inclined to complain. Okay. So when it comes to barking, he may bark. 5 to 15 minutes is pretty good. It should be 0 at this point. So hopefully it doesn't escalate. If it does escalate, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It typically takes about 2 weeks for a puppy to just get over it and understand, like, okay, nothing's going to happen if I keep barking. I'm just going to rest in my kennel. Okay. Questions about that?
No,
makes sense. Yeah.
And this is just when you're like, of course, when you're replicating the 9 to 5 or whatever your schedule would be. Outside of that, does Wrinkles sleep with you guys, or does he sleep in the kennel?
he sleeps on the ground in his bed.
We have like a dog bed that's like near.
We don't let him up in the bed to sleep with us. He sleeps next to our bed in his bed, but not in his kennel.
Okay. Is there any potty mistakes overnight?
Yeah, there's some.
Okay.
It's been better, but
Honestly, I think, what we just talked about with the more of a routine versus us just, oh, he's got to go, let's let him out. I think that consistency and schedule will help out a lot with that. But he's been, over the past week, much, much better about sleeping through the night. Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. We're going to do a couple other things that'll help with that. If you find maybe the potty mistakes dip down to like once a week or whatever, once a night, that's not too bad. I just ride it out and it should just clear up. If it stays consistent though, because that can happen, then you might have a potential issue there where you'd want to crate him overnight, because you need to get that habit down of just getting him to sleep through. And then once you've gotten that down for a few weeks or so, he should be fine again. Okay.
Do you suggest we crate him at night, or should we, do you think it's okay with his bed next to ours?
I think you're fine so far. I play everything by ear because there's no right or wrong in my book. It's kind of like what's going to work best, right? And a lot of people feel bad because the dog's crated throughout the day, that they don't want to have the dog crated 3/4 of the day, Yeah. So I always say if the puppy's doing well, that you're not too bothered by it, and then we tighten things up and it gets even better. We just give it a little bit of time and hopefully it clears up. If not, we can always just introduce the crate and then get that.
Okay.
So the next thing would be, how much does Wrinkles eat a day total?
So, half a cup 3 times of dry and a quarter cup of wet food 3 times a day. So 3/4 of a cup total 3 times a day.
So that would be
2.25 cups. Yeah, 2.25 cups a day.
how many times does he poop a day?
Usually 4,
3 to 4.
3
yeah.
to 4.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you're fine then. So when it comes to the feedings, the reason why I'd ask is, if you feed a puppy 3 times a day, you're expecting about 3, maybe 4 bowel movements.
Okay.
Okay. I get people that tell me their puppy will poop 7 to 8 times a day.
Oh, geez.
That tells me they're overfeeding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
That's
think,
not good.
yeah. So I think you're doing fine. I would be more mindful, and if you notice, like, yeah, it's more towards 3 and on occasion 4, I think you're fine.
Okay.
More leaning towards 4, then you might just be overfeeding a tiny bit.
Okay.
Okay. So are the feedings at a set time each day?
Yes.
What are your feeding times?
7, noon, and 7.
Okay, so that's good. And then with the potty mistakes during the day, what can help clear that up, if there are any, is I would only give Wrinkles water during feeding times.
Okay.
Okay, or after, like if you go on a long walk, you can give a little bit of water then. The general rule when it comes down to water is 1 ounce per pound. Okay, so
25.
he's
25 pounds now.
25. Okay, so then if you did 8 ounces a meal, he would get 24. And don't expect him to drink all the water. Okay, that's the general rule to go by. Because a lot of people worry, they're like, Jesse, my puppy's not drinking all the water I put down. I'm like, it's okay, he's taking what he needs. Dogs are really good about taking what they need. Okay, but what this does is it allows you to then measure how much he's drank.
Okay.
Right, so if he drinks a full 8 ounces, I'm expecting 15-30 minutes he's probably going to have to go.
Okay.
Right, so then if he drinks part of it, less likely. And the exception against that 2-hour rule is after eating and drinking. Okay.
So if we have 7, we take him out at 8
Mhm.
to potty. 10 and then 12. Probably we'll take him out there around 12:30 because we're feeding him at noon.
Correct.
So that little. Okay.
Deviation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, we could.
And because especially if he really drinks all the water, I would expect him to be more inclined to pee in the kennel. So we're trying to lead to more successes,
Mhm.
and if failures happen, we do want the kennel to, be the place where it happens to deter him from doing it again, but trying to get as many wins as possible. Okay. So I know puppies, typically when they drink so much water, they can't help it. They're like, I gotta pee, that it goes outside of the potty realm, and more so I just have to go to the bathroom realm.
Mhm.
Okay. And until he's 6 months, 3 times is fine. And then at 6 months, I recommend that people drop down their puppy to 2 times a day. And then at a year, you can drop down to 1 time a day. And this is all personal preference. Okay. A lot of my clients will drop their puppy down or dog down to 2, and they'll just keep that forever. The reason why I like the 1 time a day, and I feed my guys at night, is I feed them at night. They wake up in the morning, they poop, and then they're pretty much good for the day. Okay, and they might poop again later in the day, but at least I know, while I'm out working and all that stuff, there shouldn't be an issue. Okay. The exception being if your dog eats a lot of food, then you want to split it up. Otherwise, their stomach can flip. And then you can always give Wrinkles water outside of the meal times, like after a long walk, but at least you're aware, and you can just deduct that off his daily water allowance. Once he's fully potty trained, you can leave water out all day. Okay. One thing to keep note is that whenever Wrinkles has a pee mistake in the home, when you clean it, see if it's check it to see if it's yellow, light yellow, or clear. Okay. The reason why I say this is because if you clean up a lot of clear urine, he's overhydrated, he's drinking too much water. Okay. And the reason may be your food. And then, if that ends up being an issue, just shoot me an email and I'll talk about the food and stuff. But what is he on now?
Grain-free, Merkel, I think's the brand, M-E-R-K, yeah.
Merrick's?
Merrick, maybe Merrick's,
Okay.
yeah. Grain-free and then Merrick's
The
puppy wet
You
food
mix
as
them
well.
together.
Okay. As far as I know, I think Merrick is a good brand, if I'm remembering that correctly. So I think you're fine.
Okay.
Typically, because there's a few brands that dehydrate dogs and especially puppies.
Okay.
And throughout the years that I've come to learn. So if you do all this stuff and you're still finding like potty mistakes, like pee, that's where the color comes into play. And then then I'll talk to you about changing the food. But I think you're fine so far.
Okay.
Okay. I also suggest that you feed Wrinkles in the kennel.
Yeah.
This will help make it a positive place. And even once you see like he'll just go in there and maybe opt to go in there on his own and stuff like that, I continue to do so. Okay. Because people tend to pull away stuff or stop certain rituals, if you will, once they feel like the dog is good with it. And I'll tell them, no, like you need that habit. You need that to be cemented in the brain. Like this is a good place. Okay. I also suggest only designating certain rewards like Kong with peanut butter, a bone, an antler to the kennel, maybe during the day when you would be working, so that he looks forward to that time because it's the only time he gets it. Okay.
Yeah, I do a cone with peanut butter in it.
Okay. I would pick up an antler, bone, and maybe some other kind of chew object so you can rotate things.
Okay.
So it doesn't get boring.
Got it.
Okay. And if you put like kibble in the peanut butter Kong and you pop the Kong in the freezer, it'll help it last a little bit longer.
Oh.
Good to
Cool.
know,
Okay.
because he bears through that
In
thing.
like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And stay away from any peanut butter with artificial sweetener because that is toxic to dogs.
Okay.
Okay.
So, natural peanut butter, organic is fine. Even regular peanut butter, it's just that artificial sweetener that you want to stay away from.
Okay.
Question so far?
No questions, just taking it all in.
Yeah.
The wheels are turning, so yeah, no questions.
So we covered potty training, we covered the food, controlling water. How is he behaviorally with you guys?
He's really good. I mean, honestly, like he was a little bit aggressive with her maybe
Yeah. The first
6 weeks ago.
Yeah, the first few weeks he would like attack me, and he hasn't done that in like almost a month now. He like nips a little bit, but he doesn't.
He listens well too. Like
Yeah.
when he would chew on certain things like tables or legs of chairs, he wouldn't listen like when we're like, no, Wrinkles. But now, like if we say no, he stops immediately.
Or he'll like grab something and we'll say leave it and he'll drop it pretty quickly.
Okay.
And we try to stay consistent with our commands or what we're saying so that he knows when he's doing something he shouldn't, that we're both using the same term or word so that, he understands.
Okay. So one thing I want to clarify for you guys is when we deal with behavior, I want you to think, do I want to eliminate this or do I want to control this? Okay. The reason why I say that is, let's say Wrinkles is chewing on the chair and you say no and he stops. What happens if you're not there to say no?
Right.
Right? He's going to just continue chewing until, because technically the way a dog's brain learn is, the brains learn is they think they can do it until the cue is given. It's a controlled behavior. So like, let's say when a dog is jumping on you, a lot of people say no off, right? But the dog, they think like, okay, well, I can jump on you until you say no off. And I'd rather the dog just learn not to jump on me, period.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to think about it that way.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to teaching these things, let's say, for example, if Wrinkles was playing with another puppy and he annoyed that puppy, and the puppy wanted him to back off, what do you think they would do?
Growl or bark
or,
at
yeah,
him. I don't know.
bite.
Bite
Bite.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But you're correct too. Growl, bark, bite.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say Wrinkles is harassing this puppy. He wants to keep playing. The puppy's decided, I'm done. They
Mhm.
growl to warn, I'm done. Wrinkles goes, but I want to keep playing. Keeps going. Maybe the dog does a little bit more of assertive lunge and barks at him. Wrinkles jumps back. I want to keep playing.
Yeah.
And the puppy goes, all right, here we go, right?
Yeah.
So the puppy's not aggressive. The puppy's just saying, you need to back off and respect this boundary. I'm done playing.
Mhm.
Okay. When people see that, they dub it as aggressive because humans can handle situations verbally, right? We can de-escalate things verbally. We can resolve a lot of conflict verbally, but sometimes those things don't happen. Sometimes it does just blow up to a fight as well, right? That's dogs. Dogs are very primal. They're primitive. And if they, and some dogs don't skip the growling, barking, they just go straight to the bite and go back off, right? So you want to think of this the same way when it comes to handling Wrinkles yourself. Of course, I'm not saying bite your dog, but we need to, what it is it's a physical aversive, okay? It hurts, like a dog biting, that would hurt, right? So just to give you an example, like you see this here,
Mhm.
so that's a dog bite. Okay.
Ah.
This dog did not want to go in the kennel. That was it. Okay. I wanted to put him in a kennel. He goes, no. Boom. That's the conversation. Okay. I don't take it personally. I still trained the dog and all that stuff after I healed up. But you have to think that way, even though Wrinkles is cute and he's still a puppy, because that's how other puppies and other adult dogs would handle him. Okay. So what I suggest, and I'm going to give you a number of approaches, and some people go one spectrum to the other, others just jump straight to it. One thing that you can pick up on Amazon is what's called a pet corrector.
Okay.
Okay. When you search, you literally just search a pet corrector, and you should see like a red can. All it is a can of compressed air. Okay. And the theory behind it is the sound,
This is the
excuse
horn.
me, spooks dogs, and it deters them. It's the aversive that deters them from doing the behavior again. Okay. Some dogs or puppies are very susceptible to this. Some are susceptible to it for a little bit and then they outgrow it. Okay. So if I do the hissing sound, let's say while Wrinkles is chewing on the chair, and let's say he gives a very exaggerated response and he gets spooky and he runs away, your inclination would be, oh, Wrinkles, I
Mhm.
didn't mean to scare you, right?
Mhm.
Don't worry about that.
Mhm.
Okay, he's going to recover because now you're going to negate the correction. Okay, so if I spray it and I get an over response, I'm actually thinking that's good because it means this little can of air really means something to him. Okay, so anytime I see him do something I disagree with, I simply blast the can of air. I don't say no because I want him to think the moment he does something like chewing the chair, it's going to happen. And the only way to avoid it is not to chew the chair.
Got it.
Okay. So it's like humans, right? We get red light tickets. If I run a red light and that light flashes, I'm getting a ticket guaranteed. The only way to not get that ticket is don't run the red light.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's very similar. So let's say you spray the can of air and Wrinkles looks at you and goes back to chewing the chair leg. Okay. I usually give it a couple of blasts, and if nothing happens, I go, okay, this doesn't bother you. Then what I do is I take the can and I'll spray them on the rear. Okay. It's not going to hurt them, but if you spray the air on your hand, because of the stuff in it, like it feels cold, right?
Mhm.
The CO2, yeah.
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 It's going to freak them out. Okay. Hopefully it freaks them out or it has some kind of response, right?
Mhm.
Because you're trying to escalate and make it mean something to him. So now we're making it physical. So now the hiss is powerful because he's felt it and he didn't like it. Okay. And I've done this with puppies, and they'll scream bloody murder, and they'll circle around, and then they'll stop, and then they kind of recover, and then they walk away from the chair, and they just sit down across the room like, what the hell just happened? And I let them process. Okay. Let them go through it. And then you'll see, like, he'll walk by the chair, and he'll look kind of suspicious of it, because he doesn't know what happened. I let it go. So then he starts to learn, like, okay, if I don't put my mouth on that, nothing happens. We're good. Okay, I know the rules. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we never want to console a puppy after a correction because it makes it meaningless. Okay. The next thing is what's called a bonker. Okay, and I'll send you an email with 3 video links. One that explains what it is, how to make one, and how to use one. Okay. A bonker is simply a rolled up towel. And if you want to use hair bands or rubber bands to help it keep its shape. Okay. So it makes a firm but soft surface. Okay. And you literally use it to bonk the dog. Okay. And this is where we get into some tricky territory because of the physicality. Okay. Because people, they have the notion of, I'm hitting my dog. Okay. So I was raised old school. I was spanked. My mom's, it hurt. The intention wasn't hurt, but it was meant to teach a lesson, and I'm all the better for it. Same thing for your dog, right? So you can't bite him. So we're trying to make something physical that's uncomfortable and is a moment of discomfort to deter the behavior, right? Because in his world, chewing the chair doesn't matter. That's what dogs do. He's supposed to be out peeing and pooping, chewing on tree bark, chasing other dogs and playing, hunting for food, right? That's the actual world he's supposed to live in. So he doesn't know that these objects are things that you paid for, right? But you have to teach him, like, no, these are things that you don't chew on. So again, you would avoid the word no. And the moment you see him chewing on something, you can either throw it, or if you want to bonk him yourself, you bonk him yourself, okay? You're probably going to get a fear response or a flight response, okay? This is not going to hurt your relationship. This is not going to make him hate you. This is not going to make him afraid of you, okay? When you do it correctly. If you do it incorrectly, which is, let's say he's chewing on something, as an example, you tell him no, he ignores you, you get louder, no, stop, hey, and then you get the bonker and then you yell while you do something with it. Now you're creating negative energy. Okay. Whenever I correct the dog, it's always neutral. I'm not pissed off, I'm not frustrated, and it's immediately. People always give their puppies and their dogs the opportunity to be a good dog and do the right thing. That is a human thing. Okay. Remember, he does not know that the chair is yours, that you paid for it, that it's there's financial value to it, right? He just thinks, I'm a puppy, I want to teeth, I chew on stuff, there's something I can chew on. Okay. So the caution is what you're seeing is caution. Okay. Caution is good. It's healthy. Right. So for example, you guys drive. Okay. You've been on the expressway?
Badly.
Most people go past the limit, right? We push the boundary a bit, but then we see a squad car. What do?
Slow down.
Yeah, you're showing caution, right? Because you see the authority and you're like, okay, I don't want to get a ticket, right? So you're trying to make yourself an authority over your dog, right? Most people's first concern is, I want the dog to love me. That's going to happen unless you're a terrible human being. That's going to happen, okay? It's going to happen regardless. You want the respect first, the love will come after, okay? Because when a dog doesn't respect you, they're not going to listen to you, okay? So it's a hierarchy thing. It's a dominance thing. It's completely natural. And I know there's science that says they debunk the hierarchy theory. That is completely wrong. Dominance hierarchy is everywhere. It's in the human world too. Right? So I own my own business. I'm the employer. I have employees. I can come in and say, hey, do this. And they say, but I normally do this. I'm like, I know you normally do that, but I'm telling you to do this instead. Right? So I'm the dominant figure because I pay them. Right? So same thing with dogs. You know, if there's no respect factor, why should he listen to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the way they establish that is not through love and affection, it's through discipline. It's through the physicality, you know, and I've walked into homes where dogs have fought each other, and one dog won't want to go in another room where the other dog is because they got beat up so bad. So they laid out that framework of like, when I'm in the room, don't even come in here. Okay. So everything is always appropriate to your dog's behavior. So that's why I gave you a spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have like your mild, moderate, and then severe correction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is just a roll of towels, what I tell people. Dogs bite each other. So if he is super susceptible to the can of air for everything, and you see a shift in his behavior, awesome. You don't have to escalate. You see that? But if you see this doesn't work and you do the next thing and that doesn't work, and then you go to this thing and this works, his specific personality just needed a harsher consequence, you know. And one thing that you may see, you know, should you use the bonker, is a lot of puppies think it's a toy. Like you'll go to correct them, he'll look at it and like, hey, what's this thing you threw at me? He'll grab it and start running around with it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's cute, it's funny. So people always ask, what do we do? And I tell them, I suggest you make multiple, and you continue the process of bonking until you make it not a game.
Got it. Okay.
Okay? So for example, because this happened a couple of times, when I got to my teenage, like early, like preteen, 12, 13 age, and my mom tried to still spank me, I laughed. I got tougher, right? So then she's like, all right, you think this is funny? Well, I'm going to keep whipping you until it's not funny. And at a point it became like, okay, this is very uncomfortable. This isn't a game anymore. Okay, mom, I stop, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with the puppy, right? So it's a very similar. So then I go, okay, you think this is a game? Well, I'm going to continue to correct you until you learn that it's not a game. And then he learns like, okay, this is an act of discipline. Okay. I always suggest you do this at the get-go of a behavior that you disagree with, because if you let him do it for like 10, 15 seconds, you're creating a delay.
Mm-hmm.
And he will always opt for those 10 to 15 seconds. Okay. And then it's going to get frustrating, because then he's going to think it's rewarding because he at least gets away with it for X period of time before you actually kick in with the correction. So it's like the moment you even see the thought, like if he looks at the chair a certain way and goes over to walk to the chair to chew on it, that's where you correct. Don't wait for him to already be doing it if you can see the process already happening.
Okay.
Okay. So like the nipping at you, you know, pulling at pant legs, super common if that's happening. Chewing on stuff, again, common. Barking at things in the home if you don't like it. You can use these tools to correct anything you don't like. Okay. Aversives are meant to stop behaviors. Positive reinforcement, like food, is meant to reinforce behaviors. So a lot of people, they think when their puppy's chewing on something, they redirect them, right? That's the most common theory. And 95% of the time it doesn't work, because nothing's told the puppy, don't chew on this.
Mm-hmm.
They go hand in hand, okay? So what I would do is I would correct them for the behavior that you don't want, and then you redirect them to something else. So then it's like, don't do that, or this happens, do this instead.
Okay.
No, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah,
I'll send you a link.
We've been using an air horn.
Oh, yeah, the sound?
Yeah, like the
So like whenever he does something that we like, the chewing of the chairs
or the biting me. That's what got
and-
him to stop, was the air horn.
Okay, so, and that's fine too. I would think of that as like the precursor to even like, or like the same as the air blast, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if it's a loud air horn and you don't want to keep blasting a loud thing, you could try the air compressor. But I have no problem with that. What
Okay.
I would suggest is that you remove the no if you're using no with the air horn.
That's our yeah.
Okay.
Got it. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because I would have never known.
Yeah, we
you know?
were like no, and then we
Remember, so
Okay.
when you want to eliminate something, so for example, you ever touch a hot stove?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Would you do it again?
Absolutely
I
not.
would try not to, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the correction just happened,
Right.
right? Even if it was by complete accident, now it's made you more cautious when you're around the stove.
Got
right?
it.
Same
yeah.
thing. Okay. Um, so, so it's kind of, it's funny because when I was, my mom, she was very strict. When I was a kid growing up, don't touch the outlet. Don't touch the outlet. And then one day she's like, all right, I warned you. She let me touch the outlet. Never touched it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the physicality part of it, right? Every
Yeah.
dog is different. So if he responds to that, you're fine. But if you come to a point where it's like, man, I always have to blast this air horn, it's because it's still not enough. Okay? Now, if you're fine with it, again, your house, your rules. If you're like, yeah, I'm fine, I'll just blast the air horn, I don't care. I go, all right, cool, then you're good. But if you're along the process of like, this is really frustrating because I hate blasting this thing 20 times a day,
Yeah.
that's when you want to think about escalating.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes complete sense. Yeah.
So, yeah, when I talk about these things, people, I know it's the most effective, but I understand people and their puppies, because it's like their baby and they don't want to tarnish the relationship and stuff. But dogs bite their puppies all the time and they're perfectly fine. It's the emotional component that people put behind it that creates the issues, and how's like Wrinkles? I know you say he's pretty good. I'm assuming like he's pretty chill and laid back for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll have a spurt every once in a while where he runs around the house, like just gets all that,
Lots
that
of
puppy
pent-up
energy.
but
But I mean, for the most part, yeah, like he listens. We've corrected some behaviors. Moving forward, we're not going to say no. But I think that overall, he's he's good.
yeah.
So just to clarify on the correcting behaviors process, the things that you don't want to eliminate, for example, let's say barking at the door, right? Let's say you like that because it's security, right? But there's a healthy and unhealthy level of barking. If he barks and like alerts you and then you open the door and he quiets and goes and lays down, like that's good, right? He's done his job. Okay, it's been acknowledged. He chills, no problem. But some dogs get stuck. They will bark and bark and bark for 30 minutes or longer. Okay, that's unhealthy. Or they bark all the time, all day at every single sound. Okay. And I know, and you want to think that the Wrinkles you have today isn't necessarily going to be the Wrinkles you have tomorrow. This is why discipline is very important, and you put rules to things, because that's what's going to kind of assure you that you're going to pretty much have the same dog, because you're always countering things that you don't like. What most people do is they hope the puppy outgrows the behavior, and I'll go maybe, or maybe they develop a habit, and now they're like a 120-pound German Shepherd.
Right.
Found his voice, and now just barks all day and jumps on people.
Right.
So the fact that you have consequences is good. We're just going to clarify a couple of things. But like, let's say you start to notice he becomes too barky at the door, right? You don't want to eliminate it, but you want to control it and just kind of tame it down a bit, right? That's where the cue would come into play. So like, something like quiet or no or stop, enough, like whatever your cue is, right? So then it would look, for example, knock happens, bark happens. You give them a couple of barks and then you go quiet. That's the cue. Then the aversive. Okay. So what you're teaching them is when you hear this cue, quiet, if you don't stop barking, this happens. And if you want to avoid this, stop barking.
Got it. Okay.
You see that? So then you empower the word because there's something behind it. So again, going back to mom, when I was first growing up, before I got spanked for the first time, no was only no. Okay, sure. Then I pushed the boundary a bit. told me no again, pushed the boundary a bit more. Okay, I'm going to spank you. Right? So now the spanking gave the no a totally different connotation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now I'm like, okay, no means I may potentially get spanked with the belt.
Right.
So now I have this, like, I make different choices. So same thing for him. You know, if you're using quiet and you use that air horn right behind that quiet to empower it, and then you start to notice when you use that word, you're no longer having to reinforce because you see him respond.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're making progress.
Okay.
Okay. If you find you have to say quiet and then always have to do an air horn, you're kind of stuck, right? Because I'm ideally not wanting to have to do consequence.
Right.
I'm wanting to just say the cue in the sense and then get the response. And then whatever approach you're using is what's going to make that happen.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was something else that you said that I wanted to touch on. So we did the consequences, not saying no, chewing. Oh crap! Slipped my mind. No questions, you said?
I don't think so. I think, yeah, that's really helpful. Yeah, nothing I can think of at this moment, but
Continue with the feeding whenever he potties outside. One thing that you can do is, if you learn to recognize, like if he circles when he poops and stuff, is to cue the word potty or whatever phrase you want to use, and you keep repeating as he's spiraling. And then when he stops to actually perform the poop, good boy. As soon as he finishes, reward him.
okay.
Okay. So if we fast forward into the winter months, and you go outside and you don't want to wait out there for 20 minutes, you just cue the word. It's not going to be instantaneous, but it'll start to get the brain going and make it a much faster process.
Okay.
Okay. In terms of exercise, what I would recommend, a general rule of thumb is 5 minutes per month, which means, in my book, high activity. Okay. So at 4 months, he can do 20 minutes of a high activity and then rest.
Okay.
Okay. Like I wouldn't take him, and he's probably not a runner anyways, but
Oh, he is. Yeah, he can run.
He can. He's a lot
Yeah.
faster than
There's some dog on the corner that barks, and as soon as he barks, he runs all the way back
He
to,
gets really
to our
scared.
back door. He's like nervous. So yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. So hang on to that thought, okay, because we want to talk about that. But let's say if you're doing like, an actual run with Wrinkles, at his age, I would limit it to 20 minutes. But if you're going on a walk, because it's a very passive activity, you can do an hour or whatever. Okay. If you take Wrinkles out for a walk, because it's going to start warming up, and he is, he's Bulldog Beagle, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He looks more Bulldog to me.
He does. Yeah.
He's mostly bulldog. Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably going to get overheated. Okay. So if you're walking with Wrinkles and you start to feel him pull, watch what he's pulling towards. If it's shade, he's overheated. Okay. Stop, let him rest in the shade 5-15 minutes, and then make your way back. Okay. When he's very hot, our inclination is to give him a ton of cold water. You don't want to do that. You just give him a little bit. Okay. If puppies or dogs drink water too quickly, it can cause their stomach to flip. Okay. So what I do is I'll grab some water in my hand, put it over the muzzle, under the chin, under the belly, and then his paws, and that'll help cool him off. Never pour ice cold water over a dog's head, because it can put him into shock.
Okay.
Okay. When it's really hot out. Okay. And then when he's 5 months, you can up the high intensity activity to 25 minutes, then an hour, 30 minutes, so on and so forth for each month. Once he's a year, he can do a full 60 minutes. But you would have to have built his stamina up. Okay. Going back to the nervousness. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't let him do that. Okay. So if you're walking towards, just as an example, if you're walking towards where the dog is and the dog barks and he starts to pull away, keep moving forward. Okay. You want to teach him that the bark means nothing. Okay. But if you let him pull you away from it, it can become what's the word? Again, it's that habit, right?
Mhm.
So every little thing that spooks him, he's going to want to just take off.
Right.
And I get dogs that the people can't even walk them because they're just all over the place because everything is just setting them off. Okay. So that's why with puppies, right now, I suggest going out for a walk. And that's why we've been doing this with our daycare dogs. Is
Mhm.
since everybody's quarantined and they're getting puppies, I'm like, these guys need to be exposed.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
got a couple that I could tell right away that I was like, yeah, these guys have not been exposed because every little sound was setting them off. Okay. So, what kind of is he on a collar or is he on a harness for walking?
Usually a harness when we go on longer walks, and if I just take him out real quick just to do a quick lap, a collar.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to get him
Is,
a new harness. So he's
it,
outgrown it.
is it a back clip harness or a front clip?
Back
Back
clip.
clip, yeah.
Is there a front clip on it?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
What I would suggest is at this point with puppies under 6 months and stuff, and bulldogs, like they're pretty lazy in my experience, is that at least go for a front clip. All it does is alleviates the pulling pressure, okay? Because once he gets bigger and he can really kind of dig in,
Yeah.
and I'm just thinking like if he hears something that spooks him, the front clip takes away that pulling power because
Mm.
it turns the body. Okay,
Okay.
the back clip, he's able
He
to
can go,
put his
yeah.
chest into that harness and just take you down. Okay, but definitely anything that spooks him, just keep moving forward. Act like nothing happened. Don't try to coax him along. Don't try to use treats. Just keep it moving. Keep moving
Okay.
forward. Okay, because his brain's going one way, and you're saying nope, we're going this way. And you're bigger than him, so you're going to overpower him. At some point, he's going to have to go your way and get over the sound, and eventually he'll learn like, oh, that was no big deal.
Got it.
Okay. The zoomies was what I wanted to talk about. Okay. Zoomies are fine. You know, almost all puppies do it, but I want you to think future. I don't care again if you let him do the zoomies, but let's say he ends up being a bigger dog. You want to
Yeah.
think he's going to be zooming around. And I had someone, they had like a $2,500 TV break.
Oh my
dog
God.
did the zoomies.
Jesus.
Okay. So, and it was cute before that happened.
Yeah. It's cute when they're 20 pounds, not when they're 80 or whatever. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Wrinkles is probably going to be 50 pounds.
Could be
maybe,
50
so,
pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you can stop that behavior. Okay. And it would simply be aversive, right? If you don't want to do the zoomies period in the home, you just do the aversive. If you want to give them a few seconds of zoomies before you stop them, there would be a cue. It's however you want to work it out. But just remember, anything that he does, just think, would I still allow this when he's 50, 60 pounds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Because the learning starts now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that was what I had forgotten earlier. We went over the walking thing. Any questions so far about that?
No, that's good to know. Yeah. We just thought it was like puppy energy, but that makes sense. It'll probably
Yeah.
won't grow out of it if we let him do it now. So.
Yeah. That's the way I always look at things is like, I don't care if the dog does the zoomies, right? If you had a
Right.
Yorkie, like the Yorkie's going to be 8 pounds.
Yeah.
Who cares, right? Then I don't care. If your house looks pretty foolproof and you're like, yeah, he can't knock anything down, then who cares? Other than like if you got hardwood floor, scratching the floor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had another dog put a hole in a wall because he couldn't stop. So
Oh,
Yeah. Makes
Okay.
sense.
yeah. Like when he jumps into that chair, we should probably make him stop doing that. You know? Okay.
Something to keep in mind is at 6 months or around 6 months, he's going to go through a chewing phase.
Okay.
Okay, that's where those antlers and bones. Anything I prefer when I give a puppy or a dog anything to chew on, that it's something natural that they can actually ingest.
Okay.
I know there's like Nylabone, which is like a rubber bone or a plastic bone. Problem with these things is that one, not all dogs take to them because it's not like there's no scent to them. It's not natural to them.
Mm-hmm.
Two, when they chew on it, they can't take anything from it. Like they can't ingest it. Or
Mhm.
3, they can actually tear it down, and then they're eating nylon and plastic, which is not
Yeah.
good, right?
Okay.
You want to stay away from rawhide. Rawhide is terrible. Okay.
Okay.
Just so that you know, have you ever felt a wet rawhide before?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
It's super slippery. Like it just literally just like slip out of your hand. So what has happened is that if a long piece gets stuck in the dog's throat and you have to go in to get it, you
Oh,
can't
okay.
remove it. Okay. So
Oh,
antlers, bones, any of that stuff is really good. If he has a really powerful jaw, I prefer knee bones. They're called meaty knuckle bones. They're very odd shaped because if you get a regular, standard bone, like my pit will take one end and just go straight through. Whereas with the knee bone, it's awkwardly shaped.
mm.
So they have to like kind of constantly reconfigure it. Himalayan dog chews, which is like hardened goat cheese. They're expensive, but they last a bit. And I only give them these things, especially when they're puppies, for short times, 15, 30 minutes max, because they don't have the enzymes to digest these things. So then they might get a little bit of loose stool, which is normal in the beginning. So I limit it until they develop those enzymes, and then they're fine. But once he hits that 6-month stage, maybe a little bit earlier, you might start seeing him wanting to bite and jump on and nip at things.
Mhm.
He's teething. Okay.
Okay.
And then you can rotate these things. With the food, if possible, I suggest you rotate your protein every bag. Okay. Reason being is if a puppy only eats chicken, right, for like a year, and
Yeah.
then switches to lamb, there's a high probability that there'll be allergies because they never were exposed to the different types of proteins.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
do this when they're puppies. Okay.
Okay.
And I know most places tell you not to do that because of digestive stuff.
Mhm.
But it's counter. It's a lot of stuff that I do is counter to what the popular opinion is. And I had a lady that owned a pet store tell me this, and I've done it with all my dogs, and their stomachs are like iron. Like I can feed them anything off the cuff, and like they're perfectly fine for the most part. But definitely, any proteins you can expose them to. Obviously, the different kinds of treats as well. And then if you need help with transitioning the food, just shoot me an email and I'll send you the instructions because
Okay.
you want to do it a certain way. Um, and I think that is it.
Cool.
Okay. A
Ah,
lot of info.
yes.
Yeah, but great info.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I think
Just
this.
stuff that I picked out through the years.
Yeah.
Very common stuff. Okay. Any last questions or concerns before we go?
I don't.
No.
I don't think so. I think we're gonna try out some of these things, the schedule and stuff like that, the kenneling more,
Mhm.
stuff like that. So yeah, no, this is super helpful. Nothing I can think of that we've
And
questioned.
if anything pops up, just feel free to shoot me an email. If it's anything concerning, because have you guys had dogs before?
No.
No.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So,
This is very new to us.
um, if we fast forward to when he's an adult,
Mhm.
a lot of things can change during that time frame. That's why discipline and structure is so important now.
Mhm.
Okay, is let's say in 2 years you do something, excuse me, and Wrinkles growls at you. People tend to lose their shit, right?
Yeah.
Call me up, Jesse, right? And I'm like, tell me what happened. Okay. And the popular opinion or thought on dogs is when you get a dog, they're these cute, fuzzy, furry animals that are not capable of any harm and they don't do anything wrong and they're not mean and not aggressive. And if you happen to get a dog like that, they were either abused or your dog is broken,
Mhm.
right? Dogs are living creatures, just like we have our good days and our bad days, they can have good days and bad days, me and my friends, we talk shit to each other all the time, you guys do. But sometimes like they'll say there's like certain days we're hanging out and I'm just like not in the mood
Yeah.
to be talking shit to,
Yeah.
you know? And I might like, yo, like stop, right? And I'll get pissed. But it doesn't make me an angry person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same thing for the dog. You know, he's gonna have rules and boundaries and stuff like that. You know, or you may just get a meatloaf who just loves everybody and everything, and you never see a lick of aggression from him. If that's awesome, right? But if you do, it's okay. You can always just shoot me an email. And I always ask people, tell me what happened. I'll assess what happened. I'll tell you, I'll say it makes sense. You know, let's say you pull out his jowls, right? And it's cute, play with his face. But then in 3 years, all this gets annoying.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he may have that boundary. Okay.
Yep. Makes sense.
It makes sense. When I start to get concerned is when I start to see things happen habitually. Every time you try to grab a bone, he growls at you. Right? Anytime you try to like pet him, he like shows his teeth, and it's like, hey, like more often than not, he does this. I go, now we're having an issue. Okay. I usually just refer to them as fluke moments or like moments I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like the dog got, you know, stressed or whatever. No big deal. Keep an eye on it. Let me know if it becomes more prevalent. Okay. Otherwise, from what I've seen of Wrinkles, nothing out the ordinary. I think you got a good pup. I think once you do all this stuff too, it'll just kind of help him mature to be a good dog as well.
Awesome.
And then whenever you guys want, just bring him on by. Okay.
Yeah. Next week he'll be there, so we're looking forward to
Yeah.
it.
For sure. Okay. Anything else?
No, I think
No.
this was super helpful. So thank you again.
You're very welcome. Once I get this up, I'll send you the link for it, and I'll also get
Okay.
the link to those 3 videos. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
Thank you.
We'll
All right,
talk
have a good
soon.
day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.